There's something strange going on in the North Sea. Navy crewmen are rescued from a life raft, but they all appear to be elderly and frail.
Mulder suspects the Philadelphia experiment. Could the military have continued experimenting with wormholes?
This is not happening.
Do you know anything about the Philadelphia experiment?
It was a program during World War II to render battleships invisible to radar. But then the Manhattan Project heated up, and it was discontinued, and most of the scientists were relocated to Los Alamos.
Except none of those scientists ever made it to Los Alamos.
Where were they sent?
Roswell, New Mexico.
Are you suggesting that the Philadelphia experiment used alien technology?
Well, less than 9 months after the alleged crash of a UFO in Roswell, New Mexico, the USS Eldridge did more than just hide from radar screens. It disappeared altogether from the Philadelphia Navy Yard, only to reappear minutes later, hundreds of miles away in Norfolk, Virginia.
That's not possible, Mulder, not without defying all laws of time and space.
Those physicists may have been trying to manipulate wormholes on Earth.
Wormholes?
Actual portals where matter interfaces with time at a relatively decelerated or accelerated rate. I'm betting that the military never stopped the work it began 50 years ago.
And that's what you think happened to Lieutenant Harper?
I'll find out soon enough. I'm booked on an 8:30 flight to Norway.
Have you let Skinner in on this?
I'm giving myself a 24-hour head start before I give Skinner my report. I want this one myself.
I'm going with you. If that really was Lieutenant Harper, I want to know what happened to him.
And welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. I am your host, Mike, and with me today is Andrew, special guest star.
Yeah,
how are you doing today?
I rarely get to be on this show. This is exciting. Thank you for the invitation. I hope not to let you down.
I'm sure you'll do just fine, sir.
Yeah, I have been practicing.
Good. That's good.
Getting my game voice on.
And it's always good to practice, calm the nerves, because
well, if I'm all aflutter, I didn't expect this day would come.
Well, it's here now, so it's real.
Okay, well, I will calm down.
Calm yourself.
Yes,
okay.
With umlauts over the A.
We are, of course, talking about Dod Kalm today. Episode 19, I believe. Right?
It is 19, yes.
Yeah. Written by Howard Gordon and Alex Ganza. And
been a while since we've seen these guys.
Yeah. They used to do quite a bit in season 1, but it's been a while since they've collabed. Directed by, of course, Rob Bowman.
Rob Bowman. Well, you'd have to be, wouldn't it? Because they've got a ship involved. And
absolutely.
From what I understand, it was not easy to film on this ship.
That's in my notes. I was like, there's no way this was easy.
Well, I'll let you get to that. But certainly, it's a place in my heart, this ship. This is a destroyer, the HMSCS Mackenzie. That was decommissioned, and they used it in Endgame and Colony as well. So they really got their money's worth out of this.
Oh, yeah. They loved this set. And this is the same one as season 5, right? Red and the Black? Or is that a different one?
That has to be a different one because apparently they scuttled the ship shortly after they finished Dod Kalm.
I knew they had sunk it at some point or whatever, but yeah, that's good stuff.
I wouldn't put it beyond Chris Carter to be like, you know what? I really like that ship. Can we just get it back?
Can we just raise it from the grave?
We'll make an X-Files episode out of it. It'll be great.
Fun fact for this episode that I read online, so grain of salt, listeners.
Oh, it must be true. Yep.
The U.S. premiere of this episode firmly secured Fox's highest Friday night rating ever, proving that this show was one of the best. So at the time, this blew the doors off of Fox's expectations and secured their highest rating at the time. Pretty cool.
It's pretty cool. I mean, not that they didn't know they had a winner.
Right.
They've invested a lot of money on it, and they got good ratings. But I think it is definitely hitting its stride at this point.
Mm-hmm. Very much so. And we've got some players today. Whew.
Yeah, there's some heavy hitters in this episode. But would you say that this is a retread of the Philadelphia experiment, that movie?
I don't know that I've seen it. But, I mean, I would imagine there's probably pretty similar.
And certainly they even name drop it in the episode. So it's almost like they're acknowledging their sources. So,
yeah. Well, it's a highly legendary project of the United States military. So I'm sure there are plenty of references in media across the world about warping battleships to different sides of the planet in the blink of an eye.
Yeah. And they didn't just say Bermuda Triangle episode. They decided to make it a little bit more their own, but to their credit.
For sure. Bermuda is season 6.
We're not there yet.
Not there yet, but we'll get there soon. So are you ready to dissect? I didn't want to say dive.
Well, ironically, dive in would work in this case because it is a nautical theme. So yeah. I thank you for being attentive to my reluctance to just say dive in all the time. But in this case, I think
it is a little appropriate.
And I am ready to dive in. So let us dive.
All right. Let us dive, audience. So we open on the Norwegian Sea. A lifeboat drops from a larger vessel and military crewmen board frantically. A man argues with his superior. Lieutenant Harper is leading his men to safety against Captain Barclay's witches. Harper is Dmitry Chepovetsky, who we will see again in Folie à Deux as the floor manager. Barclay threatens his lieutenant with a gun to adhere to his command, but Harper tells him to shoot if he wants. He's not waiting around to become like the rest of the ship, and he boards the life raft. So later that night, a fishing vessel comes across them. The captain is Stephen Demopoulos, who has another bit part in Talitha Kumi at the end of season 3.
Cool.
As they shine their lights into the void of night, they catch a glimpse of the life raft and head for a rescue. They throw the life raft a long line and begin pulling them in. As they approach, the vessel's lights catch the faces of the escapees, and to their horror and ours, all the men are significantly aged and elderly. Credits.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
All right. I got some things to say about that opening because beyond the fact that it's great, it's, I think, really effective. I don't know about you.
I love it. I love it.
I mean, overall, this episode is pretty great, but the opening has some really nice Canadian touches in there. Obviously, they're shooting in BC, so it's kind of hard to get away from the Canadianness of it. Mm-hmm. But that maritime accent of the crew is kind of spot on. And the shot of the pot that they're playing poker for, includes $2 bills. Did you know we used to have a $2 bill here?
We did too.
Well, a long time ago, you had a $2 bill, but you've just dropped it down to $1 bills, and you still have $1 bills. We had already moved on to $1 coins in 1995, but we still had $2 bills. But they ceased production in 1996.
Ooh.
And they'll be replaced by a $2 coin.
Oh, getting rid of the small stuff. Gotcha.
Yes. Now, do you know the name? This is your Canadian quiz for the day. Do you know the name of a $1 coin in Canada?
Well, I know you. Is this all Canada or is just certain countries?
It's all of Canada. Everybody in Canada calls them.
I know a lot of you guys like the French. You know, part of you is really French, and the other part is,
and most of the rest is.
I'm not sure. I have no idea.
Okay, well, I'll give you a clue. On the coin, on one side is Her Majesty the Queen, although probably now it's going to be His Majesty the King. Mm-hmm. And on the other side is a loon. That is the image that is emblazoned on the other side of the coin. So, with that in mind, what would you call this coin?
A foul
geez.
king.
Yeah,
Quid?
That's what we call them. Amazing. Foul kings. No, we call them loonies.
Really? I don't think I've heard that. Okay.
Well, you heard it here first. Now that you know that, 1996, we make these $2 coins. On the one side is a picture of the Queen. On the other side is a polar bear. So what do we call a $2 coin?
Polies?
No. Call them toonies.
What? I mean, I really appreciate that as a pun, man.
Yeah.
I've often said sequels need to be incorporating the number 2 as ridiculously as they can. Like the new Twister sequel they're coming out with.
Oh.
I've been saying it should be called Twoster.
Oh, yeah.
It's one of my favorites.
It's not really adopted, though, has it been?
But no, my friend didn't really take to it, but I thought it was hilarious. So
Fair enough.
but yeah, I appreciate the adherence to ridiculous names.
Yeah.
That's a good stuff.
So all of that based on a cutaway shot from the poker game they're playing. I was like, holy crap, look at all that.
Well, you know what? I would say our listeners are majority are American, and they would be happy to learn about their favorite host, Andrew.
Giving your little bit of Canadian legend right here. Now, if you've just finished fast forwarding through that, we can pick it up back on the episode. And I'd also just like to call out that first look at the lifeboat when it's coming in with the elderly crew members on board. And it's just that lovely silhouette shot. Yeah. And my first thought when I saw that boat was, that's a boat full of corpses because they're so still.
It almost makes you wonder, because they're putting a lot of emphasis on not showing what's there. And obviously there's something big happening because, they're all escaping a naval ship, which is, as Barclay says, this is mutiny, which is huge in the military. So for all of them to decide, Well, when the gnarled hands start pulling on the rope from the boat side, I was beginning to think, oh, that's a boat full of zombies now. Yeah. It's just, that would have been a cool episode. It would have been a pretty cool, I think in some ways a better episode, but I'm not going to go there just yet. I like a lot of it this episode. A lot of it. All right. Well, shall we? We shall. Okay. Coming back from credits, Scully arrives at Bethesda Naval Hospital. Mulder intercepts her at the elevator and tells her that the USS Ardent has been missing in the North Atlantic for 42 hours. No contact at all until last night when a Canadian ship picked up 18 survivors. Only one is still alive, and he's under heavy security. They won't let him in, but maybe with Scully's medical background, she can get in. She heads in to view Lieutenant Harper. Astonished by his appearance, she questions the nurse. Scully points out the obvious. This report says Harper is 28 years old. So what the fuck? He looks like an old man. When she begins asking why certain procedures haven't been performed, the doctor enters. The two exchange a few words, and the doctor pegs her clearance code as invalid. Our girl gives it one last shot, demanding to see the autopsy report on the other victims, but she is stonewalled by the doctor. She hands over the chart and leaves. What'd you think of this scene? I liked the scene. I sat there wondering if Mulder knew that card was bogus. That he was like, this will get you past one person, but don't let them look at it too close. The security code is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's written in with a Sharpie. It's the same code I got in my luggage. I generally like this scene. I like the intrigue factor. There's a spy game quality to it, which is very cool. Not sure I'm loving the makeup job they've done on Harper. I think the makeup's kind of hit and miss in this episode. Yeah, that is the worst part, I would say. Mm-hmm. Just cosmetically, I think it was pretty good for 1995 TV. I agree with that. If this was a movie, it might have been better, but I don't know if you're going to get much better than this on television. Yep. At least at the time. So definitely. I mean, there's a high bar here, and obviously that's a huge part of the episode, so we're paying attention to it. But for the most part, it's good. Right here in this moment with Harper, it looks a little plastered on with shellac, so not super convinced with that. But I do like the intrigue in this opening scene. The pace is good. It asks a lot of questions we don't get answers to, and that is always a good way to start an episode, is to intrigue us as well as the characters. They kind of want us to question the doctor at this point, be like, okay, she's in on something, whatever that is. As we come to find out, it's nothing. But I think it's always on the X-Files agenda list to make us suspicious of everyone. Yep, definitely. Well, and the doctor's a meanie, so I mean, of course we're not going to like her. Yeah, mean to our girl. What the hell? So the agents meet up and discuss the strangeness of the case in their office. Mulder shows her the course of the Arden. On the office map, he has charted the disappearances of several ships dating all the way back to the 40s. All in all, he has counted 9 unexplained disappearances, each of them having passed through the 65th parallel. He posits it's a wrinkle in time and then brings up the Philadelphia experiment. According to Scully, it was a World War II program attempting to render ships invisible to radar, but then the Manhattan Project heated up and the scientists were relocated to Los Alamos. Oddly appropriate, as Oppenheimer just released.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yay. So
now we're going to be doing a review of Oppenheimer. Thank you.
We're going to sidebar the episode and go straight into Oppenheimer now. So this is going to be a little bit longer of an episode.
It's going to be also hard because I haven't seen it yet. So I'll just be making up my side. Yeah, I love that shot. Oh,
fantastic.
Yeah, I'm
just going to throw that out there.
Okay.
So, but Mulder drops a metaphorical bomb of his own. Wink. None of those scientists ever made it to Los Alamos. They were sent to Roswell, New Mexico.
Wait, what happened in Roswell? That's a name I remember.
Well, that was 9 months after the crash of a UFO, Andrew.
Wow.
And the local ship, the USS Eldridge, disappeared entirely and reappeared minutes later, hundreds of miles away in Norfolk, Virginia.
You know, the problem was they named it the Eldritch. Like, if they just named it the Good Times, it would have been fine.
The Good Times. The USS The Good Times. You keep the in there.
Oh, absolutely, you have to. It's one of those ship naming contests run by the Navy. We're going to call it the Boat Face. No, we're not going to use that name, but the second place winner was the Good Times. So USS The Good Times it is.
Yes. Scully picks up on what Mulder's laying down. She says, alien technology. Oh boy. So this is what Mulder's theory is. The program was to figure out how to use and manipulate wormholes, portals where matter interfaces with time at an accelerated or decelerated rate. The military must never have stopped. Oh boy. So he's connected the dots to mean that what happened to Harper and his crew is a result of a similar experiment. He's heading out to Norway. He hasn't told Skinner yet. He's giving himself a 24-hour head start, which I'm sure Skinner appreciates.
Oh, God, yeah. It's just the least you can do for your boss.
So where are you going, Mulder? Oh, you're buying a plane ticket to Norway.
You can expense that? Just curious.
Yeah, just write it off. No problem. With one more inquisitive look at the map, Scully declares she's going too. She wants to know what's up there.
Okay, so here's my question. I appreciate the thrust of the episode. We are going to have a little Navy adventure. I get it. I just don't think they're qualified for any of this. Because, like, they are going to go there and do what exactly?
Investigate.
They're just going to see it and write a report. Like, no jurisdiction. I get that this is Mulder off on his little high horse searching down the truth. That's fine. But it's the same kind of launch into itness of we're going to chase after a lion with our guns. You know? I don't know what's going to happen when we get there, but we're going to be ready for it.
It is a little iffy. But it's hard to say because they do that in a lot of episodes when they're flying to Tunguska.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you have no business here, so better hope you don't get caught.
Or flying to the Antarctic, you know.
Yeah.
Okay. Sure.
There has to be, I'm wondering if it's because it was a military vessel, he's just got a clearance that it's got something to do with the United States, so we have authority to be there.
It would have made much more sense if it was akin to other episodes like ICE, where they're being directed to go there as part of their operational mandate, as opposed to Mulder's like, let's go to Norway on a wing and a prayer and hope that we manage to find it and manage to see what's going on and solve the mystery. But I guess I would have wanted it just because the other thing that's missing here is the fact that the Navy appears to not be looking for the destroyer.
Yeah, that is a little strange to me. They're just not responding to the situation. Somehow the last thing the agents appear to be doing is being interested in talking to the Navy about this. You know, it's like, hey, your ship appears to be lost, you know? I want to mention one more thing because I don't know how believable it is. And it's not in my final thoughts, and you made me think of it right now. But
well, that's just why this works so well.
Absolutely.
You think of something. Go for it.
I don't know how believable it is that they pinpointed that ship. It's almost as if it was like tethered to the sea bottom, the sea floor, and it just hung out in the same spot. Didn't drift at all in the days it took them to, get here, to get the information in the United States and fly all the way out here and charter a ship. I feel like maybe it might have moved somewhere.
Well, they do say that the area is calm. There's no wind, there's nothing moves. I'm okay with that. I think if I was to have a problem, it would be that they had any idea where the ship was at all, because it's a military vessel. It's 1995. Right. It's not like you've got your flight plan logged on the internet somewhere. So I'm willing to accept that he's got connections that he can draw upon. I would be more willing to accept that Scully's got connections in the Navy that she can draw upon, that they could, find out where it went to. But, those are missing scenes. They can't afford to spend that time giving us that. True. I would have just liked to have it because it'd shut me up right now. So 30 years ago, you guys should have thought a little harder about pleasing me.
Well, these are the same crew members that somehow got our alien bounty hunter to his goal real quick when it took at least 3 days to drive there. So
right. Yes. Forgot who we were talking about.
Just managed to get there real fast.
Yeah, do not tug on the threads of this episode. Do not do that.
And I'm not poking at it. It's just something that's stuck out to me. Our agents travel, and we go to the port of Tildesken, Norway. The agents speak at a local bar to various ship captains, all of whom refuse their request to take them out to sea, showing at least some sign of fear. In a quint-like entrance, a man speaks from the shadows behind them.
Mulder couldn't have taken you up there anyway. The ship has to be classified ice-classed before it can even go past the Lofoten Basin. My name is Trondheim, Henry Trondheim. The ship you want is the Zeal. It's a 50-ton trawler with a double hull. It's my ship.
You're American.
I was born and raised in Pensacola. I ran a charter business there. I got fed up with tourists.
How do you feel about the sea north of Berenberg?
This time of year, it'll be 10 hours minimum each way.
So you've been there?
A few times. Got some of my best hauls out of there.
Why is everyone else so afraid to go there?
Well, legends. They grew up on stories.
What stories?
A huge stone came out of the sky, crashed into the pack ice.
A meteorite.
An evil god. They worship it by staying away. Exactly what is it that you're looking for up there?
A number of things. How good are you?
About as good as you're going to get, considering no one else will take you there.
When can we leave?
As soon as we shake on a price.
I would have liked him to have used his fingernails on the blackboard, actually. That would have been nice.
I just got done watching Jaws. This is how I'm going to present myself.
I do this all the time. That Trondheim, he does it all the time. It's terrible.
Oh, that would have been fantastic.
I think it would have been a bit too on the nose. But sure.
The men around here are afraid of legends. Having grown up on stories of giant stone falling from the skies, they worship it by staying away.
Or maybe they've been there before and people haven't come back, so it's just a case of don't go there if you want to survive. Ever thought of that, Trondheim?
It's possible, but as Captain Jack Sparrow would say, if no one's come back alive, where do the stories come from?
Oh, yeah. All right, fair enough. Yeah, okay. Jack Sparrow for the win. Yeah.
Yep. So heading out aboard the Zahar at night, Mulder has spent a lot of time being seasick in the latrine. It has taken them a bit longer than anticipated to get to their location, but Trondheim shows the agents his radar. This is where they want to be. They're picking up something, but it occasionally disappears and reappears, as if someone's tampering with his equipment.
That's right. It's just faulty equipment. It's the real problem.
Just faulty equipment.
Yeah.
As they discuss, his crewman spots the ship dead ahead in front of them on a collision course. Unable to get out of the way, they smash into the hull of the ship. And before I question you, Andrew, this actor almost slipped past me until my most recent viewing of this episode. The first mate who spots the Arden, okay?
Yep.
I was like,
You know,
I
you've
know
seen him
those.
somewhere
I know
before.
those eyes.
Was he wearing a mustache in a previous episode?
No. I'm telling myself that is Jack Hammond, the bully who gets fried at the beginning of DPO. So I searched it, and sure enough, Andrew.
Are you kidding me?
Sure enough.
Wow.
It's Mar Anderson's who plays Jack fucking Hammond.
Wow.
I think I have a problem. I'm getting a little too good at this.
Well, you've obviously seen these episodes more than a few times.
I have. That is true. Because you do not get a good look at this guy. I'm like, I know that face. Okay,
Well,
but back to the episode.
He's only got a few scenes, so
He does,
to your
yeah.
credit. I love that Mulder has been destroyed by seasickness, whereas Scully is boats.
No problem. She got her sea legs from her dad.
Part of my backstory.
To my question, Andrew.
Yes, go.
I am no sea captain. About all I know about giant fishing boats and Navy vessels is the little I can glean from the toy ships I play with every morning in the tub.
Fair enough.
So, given the presumed pace of the ship they are on, the Zahar, and the unhindered movement, even at coasting speed, would this large ship simply bump into the other one? Or would it cause significant damage to at least their ship?
Well,
I don't know.
They do slow down a little bit. And I'm also not a naval captain doing any more than playing with the boats I play with in the tub in the morning. I would say that it's just a necessary action bump in the script that has absolutely no consequence at all.
Yeah.
But it is meant to make us go, oh, damn, the boat's just suddenly there. Like, I feel like it's the visual result of the radar thing where it's booping all around.
Mm-hmm.
It's literally booping all around, and it's just suddenly there. And now that the ship is in there, it's not booping around anymore. It's my guess.
I just feel like at least their ship, the Zahar, would have had significant damage, if not catastrophic damage.
Nobody draws blood. They stumble a little bit. And then they can... Oh, you know what it is.
But it's dead on.
No, I have the answer for you, sir. The answer is their ship is an ice crawler class or whatever.
Okay,
it's an icebreaker
that's fair.
class. It's meant to
That's
break through
fair.
ice. It's going to have a big-ass hull.
And this is a destroyer, so obviously it's got some,
Its own,
you know,
it's got a double hull of its own.
armory, yeah.
Yes, exactly. It's meant
Okay,
to
all right.
withstand torpedoes and stuff.
I stand possibly corrected. I
Exactly.
am asking the audience if they know anything. Would this work this way? Please let us know. Because if it's the one really unbelievable thing about this episode to me is that they would just kind of bumper car off the
This is
hull
your
of the
unbelievable
ship.
thing? You're going to fall to pieces when you get to
You know what
my
I mean.
unbelievable
You know what I
thing.
mean. All right.
I
If you
do, yeah.
you allow the age thing to just go away. you know,
Sure.
that's the
works.
whole through line of the episode. I can't just destroy it.
Okay.
Complaint aside, everyone boards the Ardent. The ship has significant corrosion all over. Mulder points out the plate attached to a nearby wall stating its construction date was 1991. As they go to check the crew quarters, the plate corrodes even more, right before our eyes, Andrew.
It's amazing they don't see that.
Yeah. It waited for them to leave.
It's very
It's got a
dramatic.
mind of its own.
That's a Howard Gordon touch right there.
That is 11.
Mm-hmm.
The ship is dark. I know why it doesn't make sense that the ships bumped into each other. It's because Howard Gordon's there. All right. This is starting to make a little bit more sense. I didn't even think about it.
It's a giant consequence that has no consequence.
I'm surprised the naval ship isn't called the 11.
It's the 925.
The ship is dark, quiet, and there are bodies everywhere. Badly decomposed and seemingly very, very aged, almost mummified. Scully notes a strange residue on them, but they are interrupted by noises on the deck. Trondheim begins yelling as his ship is reversing and fleeing the area, stolen by some unknown person. Oh boy. Mulder and Scully try to repair the ship they're on, but everything is caked in residue and they can't send a distress signal. Trondheim is noticeably and understandably upset. He's being left in the dark. He senses it from the two agents, and here's where Mulder tells him his big theory and quickly dismisses it as hooey.
Yeah, he's not into this whole business of wormholes,
You gotta
even
be
though there's
fucking
so
kidding me.
much evidence to be presented here that this is what's happening. This is a point that it's worth bringing up the music for this show,
Yeah.
because I think Mr. Snow is knocking it out of the park for this one with
It
that
only gets
metallic
better.
clinginess and distant reverberations, and the music has that feeling like it is the boat. And I know that's your jam, and it's certainly my jam in this one.
Yeah, I was saying it before the show started. In my other podcast, Chip Grooves Radio, I talk about three-dimensional sound. And this is that thing where you can feel the depth of the atmosphere of what you're seeing. So this is a huge naval ship, and those instruments that Mark Snow is using, whether synthesized or not, is creating an atmosphere and creating a room around us when we're watching it. So it's a really good score. And like I said, it only gets better.
Yeah, definitely.
So suddenly they hear a scream from deeper into the ship, and they go to investigate. They find Trondheim's crewman, skull fractured, dead. They investigate further for the culprit. Mulder opens a cabinet to find a man hiding. He's elderly, and he identifies himself as Captain Barclay, the young man from the pre-credits scene. Holy shit. He's about 300 now.
And now his makeup looks good.
Yeah.
I think that they do a great job on him. Maybe they couldn't have access to the actor for the guy in the bed, and it's just a dummy. Maybe that's the problem.
It could very well be. Scully asks about his log, where several crew members claim to have seen a growing light in the sea. He says it came up through the fog in the night like it was on fire. Everything stopped, even the sea and the wind. The ship began to bleed from every rivet. Trondheim accuses him of being a drunkard and killing Halverson, his first mate. Barclay continues. Time got lost. Mulder and Scully both doubt he killed Halverson because whoever did it delivered a blow with a lot of strength, something Barclay does not have. Later, Trondheim is on deck saluting his first mate. He's attacked from behind by a long-haired man with a pipe, but Mulder saves the day with his gun, holding the man hostage. As Trondheim goes in to attack the man, Mulder points out that the man looks young and normal. He may be the answer to their current problem. Crazily enough, Trondheim knows this man. He's a pirate whaler and supplies the whales to Japan. He's a no good man.
Yeah, when you're whaling in this time period, you are evil, because Star Trek: The Voyage Home proved to us that whales are majestic creatures, and to hunt them is to sell your own soul.
They speak a special language that will be useful in generations to come.
That's right.
Yes. So, that's such a fucking weird movie, but
it is a pretty weird movie.
Enjoyable.
But, a good comedy reel.
Yeah, it was a good one. They take the man below deck to where Scully is, and she informs them that Barclay is suddenly dead. She points out what appears to be salt is forming on him. It has to be more than rapid aging. That's what's going on here. They tie up the murderer Olafsson so they can all get some rest. As the team sleeps, Mulder is awakened by his watch alarm. Cast in shadows, he gets up and walks over to his partner as she rests. Camera's tracking his leg movement, notably. When she finally moves to look up at Mulder, we can see she's a hideous witch woman. Mulder leans in surprise, and he too is disgusting. Commercial.
Oh, you have some things to say about aging, I guess, eh? Is that it?
Old people are useless. They have no place in society. No, I'm kidding.
Wow, okay.
I'm just kidding. I'm just
heard
kidding.
it here first.
No, I just thought it'd be funny to call her
I
a
think
witch.
it's more about how they're presented in this episode as kind of doddering and shaky and, salt coming off of them. But yeah, the effects they're using on Scully and Mulder are pretty good.
Yeah.
Although maybe instantly old, right? Like they've aged 20 years.
Yeah, at least.
No subtlety.
What we should do, we should compare what they look like now to the different ages they are in this episode. Talk about a missed opportunity. I mean, I might do that tonight.
I think maybe, just do a little deep fakery and push that back. I think, though, they probably look much better today than they do.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, a little work done, maybe.
Yeah. Trondheim is staring directly into the camera as he slowly examines his disgusting face. I'm just kidding. He's not so bad right now.
Age is beautiful, people.
He ages all right. Actually, less so than the agents, but whatever.
Maybe that's saying about the Norwegian aesthetic. They're just hardy people. Whereas Americans are soft and pudgy.
Yeah. Too much food. Meanwhile, Mulder and Scully discuss the equation of time acceleration.
Time acceleration is an equation, Mulder. A theory.
Then theoretically, it's possible. What else could it be?
Well, whatever it isn't a time warp. None of us has directly observed any of the phenomena recorded in the ship's log. There is no hard evidence to indicate that this is a time warp.
We're the evidence, Scully. Look at us. We're aging by the minute.
Well, if this is rapid aging phenomena, then why hasn't our hair grader started to fall out?
Then what about him? Huh? What about him? Why isn't he getting old? Voorbeliever, doe ik gamer.
Relax, Trondheim. Save your energy.
I don't have to listen to you. It's because of you that we got into this.
And nobody twisted your arm.
I signed on to bring you here, not to die.
Mulder, what do you know about free radicals?
Is this a quiz?
They're highly reactive chemicals containing extra electrons. Now, they can attack DNA, proteins, they can cause our body tissue and cell membranes to oxidize.
Grow old, you mean?
It's the prevailing theory on how our bodies age.
So you think something is triggering that reaction in us?
Well, this is just a theory. But what if this ship is drifting towards another massive metallic source, like a meteor? Maybe it's way down deep in the ocean or embedded into an iceberg. But the two could effectively be acting as positive and negative terminals, with the ocean itself being a kind of giant battery. That level of electromagnetic energy could be exciting the free radicals and effectively oxidizing every piece of matter in its field.
I actually like that description.
So that also explains the warping aroundness, like when you first enter the area and the ship is teleporting around.
Well, it's EM, so maybe it's just fucking with the equipment.
So they're not actually teleporting. It's just the radar. There is a problem with the equipment, is what you're getting.
Yeah.
at.
Yeah, they're not moving at all.
Well,
and so far as like warping in and out, I don't believe that at all.
I think it's a reasonable explanation given the facts that they're presenting to us. I mean, obviously we know that there's the asteroid, the UFO or whatever that came down, and that's what all the Norwegians are afraid of. So yeah, I'll go. I mean, God, what am I going to prove it wrong? I mean,
This episode is so wrong.
Light on facts and long on theory.
Just then, Trondheim spots what looks to be blood dripping onto the floor next to him. They go to investigate and see that the pipes are leaking. Rust. Captain Barclay did say the ship was bleeding. Mulder tells Trondheim to watch Olafsson while they go searching.
Now, I'm not a structural engineer or a specialist, but I don't think that's how rust happens.
What do you mean?
Bleeding rust? I always thought of rust as a very dry kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I have seen rusty water. I don't know how. I mean, that is some bloody red water. I mean, I don't know.
I think if you add water to rust, then you get that. But I don't know if but I don't know. It's a nice effect. I think it definitely adds to the mood, no question. But sort of liquid rust doesn't really track for me. Like I
got you.
Haven't really ever seen that.
Makes
Maybe
sense.
people that listen to our show have seen it and will comment and tell us about the liquid rust in their lives.
I think that's a good chance.
We'll be called out for that one, yeah. Or I will.
Dear Michael and Andrew, I have been on a ship that was corroding a lot. I thought I was in an episode of The X-Files.
During my time in the North Sea. Yeah.
You would not believe how accurate this episode is.
I never thought it would happen to me.
I was drinking shit water from toilets. Thank you, listener. Okay, so Mulder is tracking a yellow pipe throughout the ship that has not corroded through. Trondheim and Olafsson share a tense moment. Speaking in Norwegian, we can see Olafsson trying to turn Trondheim against the agents, implying deception. He uses his unaged skin as proof he can help Trondheim. Eventually, Trondheim chooses to listen to this big secret of Olafsson's. He plays it off as humoring him, but I think I can see that fear behind his eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I'll listen to what you have to say.
Fine, tell me. All right, fine.
Please tell me. Please tell me. He doesn't want to die.
Well, and that is a big part of this episode. The building of suspense, and it's done only very well with this element of turning people against each other. Mm-hmm. Obviously, our agents don't turn on themselves here. That bond is unbreakable. They've done it in other episodes along these lines, other, as I call them, haunted house episodes. I'm thinking of Ice specifically, where you can't trust anybody, right? In this case, it's very limited to Olafsson and Trondheim, and then Trondheim and the agents. But it does a really good job in kind of developing that suspense.
Absolutely. And I think the steps that this episode takes are very incremental in that suspense, building on that tension. Like, for some reason, Trondheim just strikes me as someone who would eventually betray our agents. Even before this scene, it felt like he was too agitated, too frustrated with the situation to be completely trustworthy. And now they're notching it up a little bit with Olafsson kind of poisoning him against the agents. And I think they do pretty well.
Well, and also, like, Trondheim has lost a lot so far. He's lost his ship. He's lost his first mate. He doesn't have a lot of reasons to trust these agents. Nothing good has come from them.
That's true. That's true.
So it doesn't take much for Olafsson to sort of push him in a different direction, I would say. Yeah.
Before he tells his big secret, Olafsson asks to be let go, and Trondheim scoffs. Like, of course, that's what you want. That's what you want. Back with Mulder and Scully, they find that the yellow pipe leads to the sewage processing hold. Mark Snow's metallic score is only amplifying the ship's presence right now. They open a hatch to rats infesting a room where apparently Olafsson and his men hold up. The only drinkable water is in a large tub with a spigot. Mulder says the agents were both wrong. It's the water. Something got into the desalination tanks where the potable water was stored, but the sewage system is recycled over and over, not coming from the sea. Mulder raps on the tank with his knuckle, and they note there isn't much left. We cut back to Olafsson's dead body and a spray of blood on the wall he's leaning against in the latrines. We hear some slurping as the camera pans over to Trondheim, gulping water from a nearby toilet.
I'm sure it's actually really nice water. This is a Navy vessel, and they keep things spick and span. So I'm guessing that it is not at all dirty shit water.
Well, tell you what, that is a nasty-ass bathroom.
It's had better
They
days.
did. I can't imagine. I could be very wrong. Maybe this is natural, but that has to be set decoration because good God.
Oh, yeah.
I know the ship is an old ship and it's being used as a TV set right now, but it's got to be in better condition than that. Maybe not.
Yeah, they did. One of the production notes is how they do a lot of set dressing to make it look as old as it is. So I'm sure they have attended to the bathroom in that way.
Yeah. Coming back from commercial, Mulder is pissed. Trondheim plays dumb and says Olafsson must have escaped when he left him alone and questions the knot Mulder tied. But the rope has been severed. The two get into a scuffle, but Mulder ends it with his gun.
Now, Mulder didn't notice the body and all the blood on the wall because there was a cutaway.
I think what they
Olafsson's
did,
dead body there.
He's in the bathroom, so they just haven't looked. So I'm thinking Mulder and Scully came back to the central room that they're staying in, where he was tied up. So it did catch me off guard too. But then I was like, maybe they just haven't gone looking for him yet.
Well, they haven't been drinking a lot of water, so they don't need to pee yet.
Right. Scully begins writing in a journal to record her findings. rudimentary blood tests she has performed found impossibly high levels of salt. The water isn't saline, so they couldn't taste it, but when consumed, catalyzes existing body fluids, causing rapid and massive cellular damage. Oh boy.
So I'm not a doctor, but how would you fix that, Mike? That massive cellular damage.
Facelift. It's really just like you pull the skin back on your back, the back of your head, the back of your back, and you just chip clip it.
Oh yeah, it's a facelift. They've
I'm
all
young
had
again.
Great facelifts at the end of this episode.
Come on, Mulder, let's go solve some crime.
I feel 30 again.
Yeah, I'm good. I don't know. Maybe it's like the injection at the end of Excelsis Day where everything is better when you randomly inject someone with a chemical.
Yeah.
It just affects everyone around you and everything's okay
It's
again.
science to the rescue. It's definitely
Science.
what it will be.
Yes.
Well, I'd like to call out at this point Trondheim's line where he says, "You two are full of theories."
Mm-hmm.
And I just feel like that is so on point. He nails it with an observation there, because that has been a case where Mulder's got this theory and Scully's got this theory of what's going on, but it's all conjecture. There's no evidence, and certainly nothing they've been doing has really stopped the aging.
Yeah. Well, as we see, things are about to heat up between these people.
They're about to get hot.
Get hot. So the water from the isolated tank has been helping Scully and Trondheim, but Mulder is not doing quite as well, is he? Likely, Scully posits, because of all of his vomiting like a pussy on their way here. We can see Mulder has aged significantly. His head is now shaking with tremors. Scully goes to examine his urine, and Trondheim lurks behind her to suggest cutting him off entirely. He tries to position her against him and throw Mulder at the wolves. She finds that Mulder's kidneys are not performing properly to excrete what she is calling heavy salt. She can't determine if the untainted water is even helping him. As she watches over Mulder sleeping, writing in her journal, she looks up to Trondheim at the other end of the room, who ominously locks eyes with her, shuts off a nearby light.
And then just comes to this dark silhouette, this nasty dark silhouette.
He has got a look on his face.
Yeah.
He's like, you son of a bitch.
Nothing good is going to come of this. I would like to call out a particular shot that they use in this scene where Scully and Trondheim are talking about Mulder. And it's a 3-shot where we've got Mulder in the foreground left, and then Trondheim and Scully seem to be talking over his shoulder on the right side of the frame. Now, technically, that shot is impossible to do in camera because you have to focus on one thing or the other. You have to either focus on Mulder or you have to focus on Trondheim and Scully. So either they're using a fancy filter lens of some kind so they can get them both in the same shot, or this is a composite shot where they literally just take the shot of Mulder and the shot of Trondheim and Scully and mish them together in editing. Which do you think it is?
I don't know why they would make such a big deal out of that. I don't know. Maybe he's not as far away as we think he is. I don't know.
Maybe it is actually giant head Mulder. The part of the side effects of the heavy salt is he has a massive head and he's right there. No, I just thought it was interesting they chose to do this shot because it's strange, not only in the context of this episode, but in the context of the X-Files. They don't do this. They don't do this kind of compositing or trick shottery to put all of your
you know what,
in the same frame. I think it
is a composite.
Yeah,
I see it now.
It's 90s and it's not great technology yet. So maybe they were like, hey, Premiere can do this thing where you can mask this and then have a dude here. What do you want to try this? And
I see it now. Okay, yeah, that is a composite. There's a halo around Mulder.
There is a pretty obvious halo on his shoulder. Yeah.
Wow, I never even put that together. Good job. Oh, yep. And you can see it move around his hair when he turns his head.
Yeah.
Good. I didn't even clock that. I'm a little ashamed. But
they don't really do this, coming up either. It's very strange that they choose to use it in this particular scene.
They must have really wanted to highlight that he could hear them for some reason. I don't know.
Well, it doesn't come back to there's no consequence to this at all.
No. That's interesting. Okay. Interesting.
When we get Rob Bowman on the show, we'll ask him why he chose to do it this way.
He's coming up.
Oh, he is. Yeah.
Coming up,
special
yep.
guest.
Later on, Scully wakes up from a nap to find that Trondheim is gone. She hears sloshing in the pipes. As she investigates the ship, she notices the toilets are back flushing water. She rushes to the tank to find him messing with the pipes. He gives it one last go at convincing her to betray her partner. She threatens him with her gun and tries to convince him to wait for the Navy rescue team. He slams the door on her and locks it. She rushes off and begins searching for anything on board the ship that she could use as pure water. She goes to the crew quarters and tears apart their lockers, finding a small snow globe. In the mess hall, she scrambles, knocking things asunder. Everything is empty until she spots one can of sardines. She grabs a jar and begins draining the contents of each into it. Looking a little defeated, she approaches Mulder, who is reading her journal. Mm-hmm. Mulder commends her for keeping such a detailed record. Scully then tells him about Trondheim backflushing the water and locking himself in with the tank that can save their lives. She hands him her concoction to help him, and despite the dire situation, Mulder is still able to lighten it up by licking his lips in jest. It really looks disgusting. As we find out, it's sardine juice, some lemons, and snow globe water. So not a lot, number one, and it looks terrible. But
I think the frantic search for untainted water is a marvelous action scene.
That was awesome.
It was weird that they chose to play it as frantic, because it's like not like you're in a rush, you're not thirsting to death yet, but she clearly realized the urgency that has now been presented and just needed to solve that problem now.
Yeah, I think that was more for her to feel at least a little better about what's just happened.
Yeah.
And she wants to save her partner. He's not doing well, I guess. So
yeah.
I think that it's a nice addition insofar as that she's even doing it. You never see this kind of thing.
It's a bit unique, that's for sure.
Yeah, she's trying to solve this problem in a very unique way, and I like it.
Well, I like the touch of the water being backflushed into the system, and you see the toilet and you see the water just get glugged back into it, and you immediately know what's happening and why. Yeah. And I love those kinds of touches where it's shown and not told, and that is a perfect example.
Mulder insists that she drink it because, being a female, she's likely to survive by retaining more water than he, a man. The ship howls in pain, and suddenly it begins to rock violently. The disgusting concoction shatters on the ground. Mulder suspects the outer hull has corroded through, and now they're taking on water. A clanking travels through the pipes and walls. In with Trondheim, frightened, hoarding the tank to himself. Suddenly, the unthinkable happens. The nearby pipes rupture, filling the chamber with seawater. He fumbles trying to unlock the door and escape, but he can't manage. In a horrifying shot, the camera pulls back from outside the door in a lingering shot as he screams for help. Muffled. Mark Snow's music swells, portraying very much so a helplessness of his situation.
Yeah.
And then we get a shot from inside, and Trondheim is floating in the room of water, having drowned.
I almost wish that we didn't see that, because...
Yeah, it's unnecessary.
Well, it's not because it's gratuitous. I mean, I get that they need us to know that he's met his just desserts, but the way that they do him in with just the slow tracking backwards from that door, and just the cries for help cease, and then it's done, that's perfect.
Exactly.
And then there was just silence, and that's the last we ever need to see of him.
I agree with you. I think it's like I said, it's not gratuitous, but it's just unnecessary.
Yeah.
It would have been even more powerful than it already is.
Yeah.
If they had just kept it with that lingering shot. He's no more.
And karma's a bitch, buddy.
Do you want to say a prayer for him or no? Okay.
He was a great captain. You let me do my business. You never gave me back talk.
He was always willing to help FBI agents when they came around.
Until he wasn't.
In a short passage of time, Mulder and Scully share a moment together. Mulder jokes about having wanted to take a cruise when he was older, but this is not really what he had in mind. He gets a bit more serious and declares that this is not fair. It's not our time. We still have work to do. Noticing her partner's pain, she takes this moment to open up about her abduction and what she experienced in the hospital with Nurse Owens. She tries to comfort him as best she can. With a resignation, Mulder states how tired he is as he falls unconscious.
Agent Fox Mulder lost consciousness at approximately 4:30 this morning, the 12th of March. There is nothing more I can do for him, or for myself. Supplies are exhausted. No food or liquid consumed for over 24 hours. The outer hull most probably flooded, though for now the inner hull is supporting the ship's mass. Among Halverson's belongings, I found a children's book of Norse legends. From what I can tell, the pictures show the end of the world. Not in a sudden firestorm of damnation as the Bible teaches us, but in a slow, covering blanket of snow. First, the moon and the stars will be lost in a dense white fog. Then the rivers and the lakes and the sea will freeze over. And finally, a wolf named Skull will open his jaws and eat the sun, sending the world into an everlasting night. I think I hear the wolf at the door.
When all seems lost, the camera fades to darkness and the rescue team arrives. Searching the ship quickly, they shine a light on our agents, center it in frame, and the image dissolves into the Bethesda doctor shining a penlight into Scully's eyes. They've been rescued. The doctor shows her journal she was writing in and says if it weren't for her notes, they may not have known what to look for. Because Mulder's doing so poorly, they've been giving him synthetic hormones. It seems to be making some progress. So,
yeah, he looks amazing. Think of what those hormones could do generally.
Scully desperately wants to speak to a naval liaison, but the doctor cuts her off. The ship was taking on water, and it sank less than an hour after their rescue. We fade back onto the ocean under a dense covering fog. With a few more metallic clangs of snow's score, the episode ends.
I like that monologue of Scully's. I think it's really nicely crafted, especially with the Norse legend of the end of the world. I think it's a really great touch. It certainly makes it look like all hope is lost. I mean, you know that that's not the end of the series because you know how many episodes are in the season. But in a lot of these episodes, it's not about, how are they going to survive? It's, they're going to survive. The question is, how are they going to survive? What's the method that's going to happen here? And unfortunately, the method they choose is the Deus Ex Machina. Literally, they're rescued at the 9th hour. And fine, that answers the question of where's the Navy in all of this. Glad they finally decided to show up. I don't know. I kind of wish that they were able to solve their own problem, but part of the episode, the thrust of the episode is, and I guess I'm kind of delving into final thoughts a bit, but part of the episode is about just resigning yourself to the fact that you are beyond hope, and how do you spend your last time? And particularly, it's when Scully and Trondheim are talking about divvying up the water. It's you can't just not give it to Mulder because he's not doing well. You're giving it to Mulder because you can't live with yourself if you don't give it to Mulder. So it's those kind of decisions that I think is the real heart of this episode.
Yeah.
The fact that they get saved, that's great. And it has to happen at the end after we have this big dramatic moment. So yay.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I guess I'll dive into some more thoughts, and that is that in the tradition of these other haunted house episodes, Ice, Darkness Falls, Firewalker, this one's a real masterclass in suspense. I mean, they have this slow buildup of tension, and they got these nuggets of hope, which they take away. And then there's only the hope of rescue, which even then doesn't look like it's going to come. It's just really exquisitely done. The elephant in the room is the miraculous recovery.
Yes.
And I've waited a long time before I actually bring it up, but they've written these rules for us. When a character ages in this way, they're going to die spectacularly. Their hands are going to break off and they're going to bleed salt. But when that doesn't happen for the main characters, they seem to get away with it. They cheat the death that's been so uniquely prescribed. It feels a bit hollow. And there's going to be zero lasting consequences here. There's going to be no reflections on mortality in a future episode. And so what? It's not a mythology episode. We don't, you don't have to watch this one because it doesn't really have any consequences, but it's almost like a dream episode. If you missed it, it's not going to matter. And that's a shame because so many other bits of this episode are very, very good. So I kind of love it and hate it in the same breath because it's like, oh, it was a dream, You went to Norway, had a vacation, you came back. It's like, geez, remember that time we aged like 700 years and then I got dialysis and I was fine?
Right.
So
yeah,
I guess that's my issue.
It's almost as if they're treating it like an external threat, right? Whereas everyone who is not Mulder and Scully has died from old age, severe old age, and their bodies are changed from within. But for Mulder and Scully, it's really just their skin. And somehow that miraculously comes back to normal. Yeah, I understand that.
I guess you could argue the crew didn't put the pieces together about the sewer water. So they were just drinking the regular water.
Absolutely.
Well, I mean, what did the crew of the lifeboat even drink? I guess maybe they filled up some water cans, tossed them in the lifeboat, and that's what they're going to drink. But it was already contaminated water, and they're drinking in the lifeboat, and that's why they age.
It very well could be.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. I mean, typical Mike fashion, I'm going to pass it. I'm going to wave it away because it's not offensive enough to my senses that that I can't accept it. But I do understand what you're saying. I think, yeah, it is one of those things where we need just a little bit more explanation as to why, even if anything is going to be acceptable as an explanation, just something as to why the agents survived.
You know what? I think I've put my finger on why I dislike it so much. If the symptom was their skin turns green and gets all flaky, and you knew what the solution was, what the cure was, but you just didn't have access to it because you're on a freaking naval vessel that's sinking in the middle of the ocean. That would be fine. That would be that we just need a screwdriver, but we don't have one, and we're going to sink for lack of a screwdriver. That would be kind of cool. But in this case, the consequence is aging. And that is so inherently irreversible to us, right? Like when we age, there's no going back. But yet they do. The fix is in. And I just feel like if you just had some other consequence for being in this high risk situation that is believably reversible, I would be okay with it. But aging is so visceral And I get it makes for good TV. I get that it happened because this is Howard Gordon and it's turning it out to 11. They look like they're 300 years old.
Well, I mean, aging is not reversible unless you're John Barnett.
Right.
Just to come full circle back to your favorite episode.
Yes, good point.
That's Barnett. No, but yeah, it is one of those things where it's like they picked the one thing that is, it's like, come on.
Yeah.
You can't really do this to skin.
Yeah, it doesn't really work that way.
They look disgusting.
Like, you're talking about years of damage to repair there, but...
Decades.
Hormones.
Decades.
Synthetic hormones, apparently. That's all you need.
I would say at least 50 years each has been added to their skin. It's like...
Hard living, right?
Man. Ugh.
Did you have more to add, or did I...
No, I think we've got the majority of what we wanted to say about this episode out. I'll just say it again. I have to give props to this one solely for the setting. It must have been a nightmare to shoot in. But, you know, it is that setting that really amplifies the level of suspense for me. Combine that with a fun story, a wonderful score with perhaps a little more beauty than usual in it.
Yeah.
And it just makes this a really great episode. Yep. I've got the looks in my notes, so we don't need to go over that. The only other thing I want to say is I actually dig Scully's explanation, her theory on what's happening more than not knowing. Because at the end of the day, we really don't know exactly what's happening.
Yeah, fair.
And where multiple X-Files end that way, where, you know, there's a question, I almost dislike it more here, where normally I would be happy with like the unanswered theory or question left. And this one feels, it's like we got a good answer from Scully, and then they go back on it minutes later. It just doesn't feel as interesting.
Well, it could still be true.
It could still be true.
The water is what's counteracting or slowing down the effect.
Yeah.
What her theory could be absolutely true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I just like that. I don't like that they took away from it somehow.
Yeah.
They kind of undid it a little bit. So that being said, it's really not complain worthy. I just am complaining.
It's complain worthy. I think you just don't like them messing with your girl Scully. That's all.
Those bastards.
Do we want to listen to some listener comments here?
Yeah, let's get some listener comments.
Well, we have Emily Messenger, who says, I hear the wolf at the door. Please let him in so he can eat you and put us all out of our misery. This whole episode is a yawn. The only saving grace is that the ending is slightly reminiscent of Darkness Falls, at the hospital with one of them in worse shape than the other, while learning that the mystery they uncovered has been destroyed and no evidence remains. I give this one a rating of meh. I got to agree with this one, actually. The parallel of again, this whole episode was a dream. It doesn't matter. You know, some big thing happened and you can never go back and explore it again. You know, it's never going to be a threat to anyone else.
The super convenient ending.
Neatly tied up the bow. Yeah, I would also give it a meh. I like a lot of stuff in it. It's stylishly done. Rob Bowman really shines. It's a pleasure to watch, but to try and piece together and think it out, I just have a hard time with it.
Wow. Wow. Okay. A meh. Really?
A meh.
Like I'm with both of you in the sense that it wraps up so perfectly that, you know, it's cliche. Just like Darkness Falls, I get it. Yeah. But I think the suspense and the way the episode kind of unfolds, I should say, not unravels.
Unravels, yeah.
Unfolds, outshines that wrap up. It's fine enough. I can believe that the Navy was coming. Is it convenient? Yeah. Well, the X-Files does that in a lot of episodes. So, I mean, I can't really hold it against it. I just accept it for the show. Now, if the episode was sloppy and not well done, then maybe I'd be like, well, that would just make it terrible because of course it's going to be wrapped up. What the fuck? You know, like that's how I would react to it. But this one is done so well up until that point
Well, they paint themselves into a corner, though. Like they
do.
literally have no way of resolving it so our heroes survive other than the Navy coming to their rescue. I mean, they don't get a rescue signal out. They don't have any idea that the Navy is coming. So it's this illusion of rescue that they're hoping for, which is fine. You know, that's all they've got left. And that, as I said, is part of what makes this episode work is what do you do when all hope is gone? But I said before, like I love this episode and I hate it. So that averages out to be meh.
Yeah, that's fair. Fair enough for both of you. Okay, so going down the list here, we've actually got quite a few comments. Thank you, everyone. Liza M., replying to Emily, says, I'm glad I'm not the only one who dislikes Dod Kalm. I've just never been able to get into it. Maybe it's that the old age makeup is distracting. It is a bit distracting at times. I agree.
Yeah, it's in some cases it's better than others. I
mean,
mean,
there are some scenes where it looks good and some scenes where it looks like it's flaking off.
Yeah.
Which, if that's on purpose, that's disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. Aaron M. Haycroft, replying to Liza, says the old age makeup could be a lot better and looks even worse in high def, but I grew up on a steady stream of cult classic and direct-to-VHS horror movies, so I started getting immunity to bad makeup in movies. Yeah, that's what you got to do. Either that or
some
put a
good
giant
stuff in those old horror movies.
Put a giant nylon over your TV to sort of fuzz up the high def quality.
Aaron Haycroft's actual comment now. Just to be a contrarian, I always liked Dod Kalm. The somber mood that some see as boring ends up being a sense of creeping dread to me. There's no fighting against the rapid aging. There's just hoping some light is there at the end to save you or pull you through. So pretty much real life. I'm kind of with him on that one.
Yes, like I said, I love it for that. You know, it is well done with the suspense. I get lost in the rapid, construction of the ending and how that is what they are forced to do. I almost wish they found another way to wrap it up in a way that was a bit more satisfying.
And the last comment.
The last comment is from Josh. Josh saying, Dod Kalm is an interesting episode. I love the premise and the setting, and there's some really good stuff here. I'm not sure it really brings it all home, and it certainly isn't one that doesn't suffer close scrutiny well, which I assume a certain host might point out thoroughly.
Nice.
Wow, prescient. But I can't ever hate an X-Files episode that steps outside the usual format to take a crack at something new and interesting. So absolutely. Yes, I certainly picked apart some of its bones here. I mean, I love that they got their money's worth out of that destroyer. Like, it's a marvelous set to work on. Their exterior shots are beautiful. Like, you just can't fake that. And it is an interesting premise. I loved I didn't really bring it up at the time, but I loved the chase scene that they had of the yellow pipe, where they're tracking the one pipe that isn't aged. Yeah. And that was a really neat bit of investigation that made them actually do something. As you know, I have a hatred when the agents don't do anything other than just sort of be tourists to it. But here's a case where they're actually fighting for their survival and using their skills to get the clues which will extend their lives. And that's good. It was really well done. But again, falls apart at the end. That's my big issue with this episode.
Yeah, and I agree with everyone who says that there's something about the episode that just doesn't fit. And I think that is the ending, where it's too convenient. And what we've talked about, just the problem they are faced with is, it seems like something that's just, there's no coming home. Just from the aging. And it's like, pick something else and you'd still have a really great episode.
Yeah, I think the corner they painted themselves into with they have to get rescued and they have to have science save them so they can get back to zero is unfortunate. And it is this Deus Ex Machina ending of just the gods will fix it all. The mortals have messed it up and the gods will fix it.
Yep.
A better episode, it would have ended in a way where they are somehow the architects of their survival. Maybe Scully finds the science on board the ship and they go, we're gonna fall unconscious because of what's happening here. But if we dose ourselves with 5,000, the juice of 5,000 lemons. I don't know what, but they find the chemical which they're going to ingest that is going to preserve them so that when they are rescued, they're going to survive. This chemical I've made, it's going to put us into a coma, but it's going to protect us. And if we do get rescued, so you can preserve that sense of we still need rescue. We're not going to get in the boat and save ourselves.
Yeah.
Like that would at the very least give me a sense of, okay, now I understand how they survived. And the doctor reads the notebook and she puts the pieces together and boom, they're saved.
Right.
Would have liked that better.
Look at you wrapping this up.
That's what I do.
That's what I do, man.
Well, speaking of wrapping it up, hey, look at that little segue.
Yes, we have babbled on for a while now, so let us wrap this episode up. And if you would like to bid farewell to our lovely listeners, please do so.
Lovely listeners, I bid you farewell, and in the ancient Norwegian tradition, I say something in Norwegian and ancient.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you liked what you heard, please rate and review on your podcast app of choice. Andrew and I would be eternally grateful to you fine people for helping us expand and get the word out. Also, we've got a killer group on Facebook. Feel free to join in on the discussion at facebook.com/groups/thisisnothappeningpod and become an official member of the syndicate. We do polls and we have questions for every episode to give you guys the opportunity to chime in and possibly let your voice be heard on our recordings. And please join us on our new Twitter at tinhxfilespod, no dash, to stay up to date on everything, moment to moment. Thank you, and remember, don't stop swimming.